Hello, my name is Austin Tamargo, and today I'm making this video entitled "What is Socialism in One Country? The Difference Between a Socialist Revolution and a Communist Revolution." So, first of all, the reason I made this video is because every day, every night, and every morning I try to think it over. I try to think, okay, what should I make a video about today? Because I'm trying to make one every day. So I thought about this, and this guy on my Facebook, he keeps on commenting, and he's trying to make this argument with me about that socialism and communism are the same thing because apparently Marx and Engels use them interchangeably. You know, that's a whole different conversation in itself. But the point is, in one point in that is that Marxist science does never puts Marx or Engels or any other Marxist theorist to be some prophet or some benevolent teacher that is always right. Marxist science is the science of studying the real material conditions of the people and the contradictions in society and in our socio-economic system, and to better accurately understand our struggle and then to act upon that and to change those circumstances. So Marx, even Mao, Stalin, Lenin, they all said Marx is not a prophet. We don't follow Marx and Engels because there's some type of God and everything they said was absolutely correct. There are a few things that Marx was incorrect on, and I won't go far into it here, but Marx actually said some racist things in a private letter to one of his friends one time, and it's been a big debate because he said basically that people in Africa were lazy and all this, right? And even what was his name? Huey Newton, one of the founders of the Black Panther Party. He said, "We realize that an individual can come to a truth, and figure out a science and develop that science while still being a product of their environment and having prejudice and being completely wrong in their worldview or certain things that they believe, which are usually because of the society they were brought up in." We can look at Che Guevara, for example. I'm not gonna. I'm trying not to make this too long, but when he was young, Che Guevara was a homophobe. And today we realize that our society, we have come to an age in our society where we know we collectively as a society are not shunning these things anymore and are allowing people to express themselves freely and be themselves. And for so long in history that has been suppressed, and many people have been products of their environment. They have conformed to this backwards thought. But anyways, that's not the purpose of this video. This video is to explain a concept I was telling my friend a little bit ago. This concept was originally put together by people in Stalin's time and the beginning of the creation and the founding of the USSR. And with partially with Lenin, but more so Stalin developed and explained this theory and helped the USSR to achieve greatness. So socialism in one country, the Trotskyists and the opportunists, they say socialism in one country. Oh, that's being that's thinking one that's nationalistic. Or we need to have a global revolution, and we need to have a never-ending revolution. You can't just stop a revolution when in one country. And so that's why I'm trying to make this distinction here between a socialist revolution and a communist revolution. So Trotsky, he said, "Oh, we cannot build this power of this state until we liberate all the working class and all the proletariat in at least Europe and the world, and really in the whole world. Whilst more rational people like Stalin and a lot of his comrades, and the true Bolshevik sides of the party, came to an understanding that it's better to, in this long multi-generational communist revolution that has already lasted for almost 200 years now and probably will continue for many generations from now. In this communist revolution, it is good to consolidate proletariat power. That's working class power. The bourgeoisie, the capitalist class, they use the power of the state apparatus, the state structure, the government, to consolidate their power and their interests. So it has been theorized that socialists and socialist workers who work, and workers in general, forming a party and using that political party as, a platform, using that political party and then successfully creating a new government, taking over the government. This is how you create a proletariat working class state, a state that is governed by socialists and workers. Right now, in all the capitalist countries in the world, the capitalist class controls the government. We know this. We see it openly. Even, in the United States, it's far worse than any other capitalist country, I believe. Definitely far worse on imperialism, exploiting other nations. But also in the sense that our lawmakers, they literally let corporate interest and special interests write the bills, and these bills come out to be hundreds and thousands of pages long. And so then they get campaign donations and lobbying and campaign contributions where these rich capitalists actually pay them to pass a law. So we have gotten so far in this, and I write all about it in this book, which I'll link in the description that I wrote. It's called State Capitalism. We have gone so far. The bourgeoisie have integrated so much. The capitalist class have integrated so much to the government that they are now the government. They write our laws. They pay these puppets to pass our laws. And even many of the bourgeoisie and the capitalists intermix and cross sides. We see it time and time again. People who are involved in politics, they then go on the board of directors for some company, or the board of directors or CEO of some corporations. They become senators and legislators. And a great example, which I wrote about in this one pamphlet I wrote a few months ago, is Senator Rick Scott. This guy was the CEO of this whole hospital corporation that exploited so many people, and they got charged with fraud, by the United States government. And this guy, this guy was like, okay, he just resigned. He's like, oh yeah, I'm out of here. And then the company actually ended up settling with the government for $1.7 trillion. So it was a criminal case of fraud, and they were able just to give the government money, and they just dismissed the case. A settlement in a criminal case. A settlement is usually in a civil court. So then, this years later, this guy Rick Scott becomes the governor of Florida and is now a senator. Situations like this happen all the time. Even Nancy Pelosi, recently, a month or two ago, got into some heat, but really nobody does anything about it. They bought all these Tesla shares before this infrastructure plan was announced for more energy cars. They work together with the capitalists and use this stock market thing to better both of their interests, and they integrate and coincide. So back to the point of this video, right? We want a socialist revolution. We need it in this country. We need a vanguard party of socialists and workers, socialist intellectuals and socialist workers, to come together, which has a majority of workers, to come together and demand change and demand a new government. And to do this, we have to create a mass movement. Once we create this mass movement and we successfully change the government, that'll be a socialist revolution. And then we will consolidate proletariat power in the United States by having a working class government. Once we do that, the work is not finished. Beginning in the 1800s with the Paris Commune, and even before the Paris Commune, when this was being first beginning to be theorized, the communist revolution started then in the 1800s. Once the Paris Commune saw that the workers could govern themselves, and it helped to further this theory, we go to the Marx and Engels died around 1880s, 1890s. A lot of comrades in Europe and Russia continued this cause. The Russians were able to create a working class government, and all the nations which the Russian Empire was imperialist over, they all joined forces and created the Soviet Union. That was in 1917. So after this, because of them consolidating that, having that socialist revolution and consolidating that proletariat power, that working class power, by creating a working class democracy in that country, other countries were able to apply that theory to their practice and use this social science that they developed, Leninism, the science of revolution, and creating a socialist state that is an extension of Marxism. They were able to take this Marxism-Leninism and use it in their, adapt it to their conditions of their countries, like Cuba, Laos, Vietnam, China. China's the biggest one. China's doing really great. It has alleviated absolute poverty, which is one thing we have not done in the United States. And so after this, the communist revolution will continue, probably for generations and generations. We will have many socialist revolutions in many countries. But communism, the end goal of communism is to have a stateless, cashless, classless society where everybody contributes according to their ability and all the needs of all the individual members are met, because there is no such thing as scarcity. No such thing. We produce enough in the world today with our technology that literally everyone can be fed and housed, and there's enough for that, and there's enough for people with disabilities. There's enough for old people, who don't have the ability to work anymore. There's more peopleless houses with nobody living in them in the United States than there is homeless people. So our goal is to have a socialist revolution in the United States, and the reason it's important to do it, state by state, country by country. When I say state, what I mean is country. That's another word for country, but in the United States, it's kind of different. But the reason it's important to have a socialist revolution in individual countries is because what they call a national character. Stalin has some good writings on this called "On the National Question" and "Marxism and the National Question," which he wrote a few years after that one. And this basically explains, as many other Marxists explain as well, each country has their own culture, their own values, their own psyche. Being a United States citizen and born in the United States, it psychologically affects you and your upbringing and what your ideals are. Just as if you were in another country like China, Iraq, Russia, anywhere else, they have their own national character, and we have to recognize this and not deny it. In social science and sociology, it's a thing that we must recognize our biases and strive to acknowledge them, but not let them affect our work. So that's the difference between internationalism and globalism. Internationalism is every country acknowledging every other country's national sovereignty and respecting the sovereignty of nations and respecting every individual culture, and what's the word for it? The right for national, basically, it's the right for nations of people, a country, to find its own path. That's a Marxist-Leninist principle. They find their own path. The people of the country, the working class of each country, have to liberate themselves. And And once we continue to consolidate proletariat power, we can eventually get rid of capitalism on this earth, and we can one of the end goals that has been theorized is a world socialist republic. Basically, all the socialist nations in the world creating something similar to what we are taught the United Nations is. You know, nations coming together to discuss things civilly with diplomacy instead of war. But as we know, the United Nations is an imperialist structure that allows that is the United States trying to enforce their will on the rest of the world with its imperialist policies and their dominance over that. What we want to create is an actual republic, you know, with full rights for every socialist country, you know, of socialist nations. And I think this will help us further achieve communism in the long run. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I have in there, like I said, this book I wrote, State Capitalism. You can comment me directly, you know, get up with me directly. And if you're in the United States, I can mail you a copy personally, or you can buy it whether you're in the United States or not on the Amazon link. Also, I'm going to put this link down there called Socialism in the 21st Century. It's a link with hundreds of sources talking about the progress socialism has made. And also, the last thing is the United States Communist Party, the USCP website, where you can check it out. Have a nice day or night or whatever.